Alright, so I'm opening up Autodesk 2014, and the first thing that you'll see is a startup screen that shows up right here. So if you were going to start from scratch, you could choose Imperial or Metric right here, or if you wanted to open from a template, you could choose that button right there for open. So I'm going to just choose New, Imperial, and click OK. And that'll bring us up to AutoCAD, so I'll pause and let that load up. So I've got my AutoCAD window open, and we're just going to kind of run through some things that are maybe a little bit different than what you've seen from your textbook, because it's AutoCAD 2012. I'm using AutoCAD 2014. The first thing that you'll notice that's very different is your command line down here at the bottom. So this is a window. You can click there to close it. You can click here to customize it, play around with it a little bit. You can make it transparent. This is new for CAD, so I'm not necessarily liking the way that works. So what I'm going to do is, if you click and drag right here on the left, click and drag that down and then let go, it will pull your command line back down here, kind of where you're used to seeing it. And then you can make it a little bit bigger, okay, by clicking and dragging right here to change the size. So that's pretty helpful. The other thing that you might see that's a little bit different, and typically when I teach in this class, I do not like to see the icons down here. So maybe your Use Icons button is turned on. So if you right click down here in your status bar, you can choose the Use Icons and uncheck that, and then that will take you back to where you see actually the letters that are associated there with each one of those buttons. The other thing that I typically do is turn off my dynamic input, or F12. So I'm going to keep that one turned off. So this kind of now will make it look a little bit more like your AutoCAD 2012. So in this area right here, we have our drawing window. Okay, that's where we're going to draw things. Here's our command line. Here's our cursor position down here on the bottom left, and over here is our status bar. We can turn these things on and off. Notice that when you hover over top of them, you'll see what that particular one is, and it also has a function button. So if I push F3 on my keyboard, it's going to toggle the O-snap on and off. Okay, so just be aware that you can use your function buttons to turn these things on and off. O-snap is one that I use quite often. The other one that I turn on and off quite often is F8 or ortho-snap. If you're doing this on a laptop, pay attention, because sometimes on your keyboard you may have to push another button in order to get those F function buttons to work correctly. So I am teaching you in our traditional workspace called Drafting and Annotation. So if you click on the gear over here on the right in your status bar, you'll see that we are in Drafting and Annotation. If you're in a really older version of CAD, then sometimes you may see AutoCAD Classic, and I'll let that switch over, but essentially that gets rid of the ribbon up at the top, and it goes back to your traditional pull-down menus like we have up here. Those are our pull-down menus, and then our toolbars. So I don't really like to use Classic. I'm going to switch back and use the new Drafting and Annotation. It's all the same stuff, it's just how it's laid out. So I'm going to show you how to use the Drafting and Annotation layout, where we have the ribbon up at the top of our screen. Another neat thing that you'll find with your command line in AutoCAD 2014 is that it's got kind of an autocorrect feature. So I have a problem with, I can never remember how to spell tool palettes. So if I were to start typing in tool, you'll notice that it quickly shows me all the commands that are related to tool palettes that include the word tool. So there it is. So I could come over here and click on it, or I can just click enter. Okay. So now it's going to open up a particular tool palette for me. So it's kind of got an autocorrect. So if I were to type in LIEN for line, notice that it autocorrects that over here and shows me line. and it auto-corrected it for me, changed it to L-I-N-E. So hopefully we can all spell line, but sometimes we get into some more complicated commands, and maybe you just mess up a letter or two. This one will autocorrect for you now. When you're using and typing in commands down here in your command line, do be aware that you can push the enter key or the spacebar key to get you to the next step. So if I wanted to I'm going to click here and draw my line, okay? If I wanted to quit drawing a line, I can push escape. Or if I wanted to start a line command again, all I have to do, I don't have to type in L enter anymore. I can just push enter or spacebar, and that's going to repeat that last command. So now it's brought up the line command for me again after I push the spacebar. So just little helpful tips to get you a little bit quicker using CAD. I want to point out in your textbook, pages 14 and 15, start some really good information. This is, hopefully you learned this in drafting 1, but if not, now's your time to go back and learn it again. It talks about the different buttons on your mouse and what those do. So hopefully, if you're using a laptop, I highly recommend you get a little mouse with a wheel, because it will make your AutoCAD life a lot simpler. Learn how to use that wheel. It's very, very nice to know how that works. And then page 15 talks about all the different ways we can start a command. So I just demonstrated how to type down here in your command line. You can start with L enter for line, because that's one of the quick ones. Okay, so I could type in there and then do it like that. I could also come up to my home tab on my ribbon in the draw toolbar panel and choose the line command from up here. That's going to do the exact same thing, and I'll be able then to draw lines. Another thing that I could do is turn on my dynamic input, and when you watch that happen, what that does when you have that DYN turned on, it's going to bring that line command. Notice everything that you see down in my command bar at the bottom is now right beside my mouse. So dynamic input can be good, especially if you've got a big monitor, but here at the school we've got small monitors. If you're working off of 2 huge dual monitors, dynamic input can be helpful. But if you're just working on a small monitor like what we have, I highly recommend go ahead and turning that dynamic input off. So there's keyboard shortcuts. I could do L enter. I can come down and actually click in my command line and type L enter. I can come off of the ribbon up here at the top and click the icon. All of those ways of starting that command, there are different ways to do it, but whatever works best for you. And I recommend kind of using a combined approach of those commands that you use all the time. Get used to typing in L enter, C enter, CO. Those are things that I use all the time. Line, copy, move, circle. Those are commands I use all the time. I don't want to be hunting around for the icon up at the top of the screen. So I kind of draft with my left hand on the keyboard and my right hand on the mouse. So just play with it. Learn, what works best for you. What makes you the quickest and most efficient draftsperson. The last thing I want to show you about Chapter 1 is this very important button up here beside Express Tools. If you click that button, it will make some of your things disappear. Alright, so just realize that it will go through all of the different things. If you click it once and you lose something, you go, oh, where did it go? Just keep clicking through it. It will cycle through, and eventually you'll get back to your traditional ribbon. Okay, so just realize that just because you've clicked something and it's disappeared, you can click up there again and bring it back. So that finishes up just kind of the high points of Chapter 1. Next video will be Chapter 2.